Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Fostering. I'm delighted to be joined today by one of our team from the National Fostering Group. Victoria is a Senior Creative Care Solutions Practitioner and also leads on our Bridge to Foster as well. So we're going to learn all about that. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us today, Victoria. So a Senior Creative Care Solutions Practitioner. Tell us what you do.
In a nutshell, I'm part of a bigger team, which is the Creative Care Solutions team, and we try to identify the right carers for more complex children who are either on the verge of going into residential care or maybe have multiple homes they've lived in and for whatever reason the foster care match hasn't been right, or the bridge to foster, which is what I do, whereas young people are ready, the local authority are saying, our young person's ready to come out of residential home and live in a foster family. And then my job really is to find the right foster family for that young person and then match them up together with the right support wraparound package. And hopefully that'll be their final move out of into their last move of the care journey, really, I guess.
Yeah. What would you say, Victoria, are some of the common misconceptions that people might have about children in residential homes?
I think really sadly there's been a big shift because there are so few foster carers that local authorities are having to put young people who wouldn't normally, kind of their behaviours and their struggles wouldn't mean they should live in a residential residential home. But unfortunately, because there aren't any foster carers, in order to keep them safe at that moment, they're put into residential homes. So there's a big stigma about children that come out of residential homes have these big complex behaviours, when actually, in truth, there are many children that are sat in residential homes who are only there because of circumstances, and actually they would thrive in a family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose this is why we need foster carers, isn't it? Because you ideally don't want a child in a residential home. But can you tell us what those settings are like?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of comparison between living in a foster family, if you like, and living in a residential home, it's in the wording. You are part of a family. If you live in a foster home, you have the same people in your home all the time, whereas in a residential home, every 24 hours or so, that shift changes. So those people go home to their own families, and then they come back. So I guess even the basics, like a child's sports day, in residential care, they're probably going to experience different people throughout the years of their schooling, come to their sports day and celebrate. Whereas in a foster family, every year, your effective foster parents are going to be at your sports day cheering you on.
Yeah.
So the big differences are those little moments that are different in kind of that stability that you have within foster care and that longevity of the same people who are always going to be championing for you. Not that I'm saying residential staff can't do that. It's just very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's like, it's that love and care, isn't it? As I'm sure people who work in residential care homes, of course they care, of course they go into work and do the best that they can, but there's not that nurturing and that love that you get, as you say, from a family setting.
Yeah. And I think you have that extension as well within a foster family. It is the aunties, uncles, nan and granddads and that big network around you of that support. So it's that extension and almost that kind of, I guess, that extra really connection that you have that's consistent and I guess as natural as it possibly can be as a child in care. Whereas in residential, staff come and go.
And Victoria, what is the difference in outcomes that you see from children who go into a foster home rather than a residential home? What's the difference?
I think for me, the biggest thing is that once you hit 18 and once you become an adult in the eyes of kind of, where our ages sit. So in society at 18, you're an adult, you can go vote, you can rent a flat, you can do all these things. Children that are in residential care will have to leave their home at 18. There isn't a provision for post 18 where children's homes are concerned. Whereas in a foster home, a stay put arrangement, which would be the 18 plus kind of care providing contract, if you like, that foster carers will continue to support those young people, either in the home or potentially from a distance, but you get that ability to come back, have, family roast, bring your washing back as well as you kind of grow up and develop, just as you would in a family setting. The outcomes are about that, having those people behind you to see you through your GCSEs and to, reach those kind of goals that we want for any child.
Yeah.
They are,
And let's learn a little bit about you, Victoria, and your background, because you've been a social worker, is that right, for over 20 years since you became a
Yes.
social worker. So
Yeah.
what led you to this role?
So I became a social worker in 2004. So still live in Plymouth, lived in Plymouth, went to Plymouth University, decided that social work would kind of be my pathway, if you like. Worked in the local authority down in Plymouth. Then I worked in Devon for a while. So about 9 years in total, I did local authority social work. So child protection, ranging, all the way up to kind of care leavers and long-term fostering. So dealt a lot with young people who were coming into care, but also then being the local authority social worker, supported them wherever they lived, including residential homes, foster homes. And yeah, that was over 9 years ago. I only went to see how I kind of found being a fostering supervised social worker. That then grew into being an advanced practitioner within the team of Pathway Care down in Devon, where I got to support young people and carers, and really I felt like being on that side of the fence where I was making those connections with young people and the foster carers and matching and, being part of that journey was really, really something I enjoyed. So in August this year, when the Bridge to Foster almost like support wraparound package was being relaunched, I was asked to step in and kind of come across the CCS team, which I jumped at because it is a service I really believe can make a difference so that our young people are coming out residential and hopefully building those roots with our foster families.
Yeah. So what does a typical day look like for you then, Victoria? There isn't
a lot
one.
less chaotic. A lot nowadays in the CCS team. So I do a lot of conversations and a lot of networking with local authorities, the commissioning kind of teams about the young people they feel are ready to come kind of into fostering. Speak to one of our many agencies across the country about their kind of availability really and their skill sets of their carers and seeing whether we can match up that kind of, as a really hopeful home match. And then I would look at what support's needed. So making sure we have our clinical on board and all of our team will really come together to kind of look at a very bespoke package for any young person in the foster family.
Yeah. And this feels like it's so much more than a job to you. Like it's a real passion, isn't it? What is it that keeps you motivated to do this work?
I do truly believe that it's not just about a young person and a family. It's about creating, a new chapter and hopefully helping to rewrite someone's future. And at the moment, we've got lots of young people that are sat in residential homes that just don't need to be there.
Yeah.
We don't have enough carers, nationally, but within our agency, we have carers that I believe if we can shine a light on them, they might be able to offer the bridge to foster that's needed at that moment for that young person.
And let's just for a moment, Victoria, put ourselves in the shoes of a child or young person who's in a residential home. What might they be feeling like? Is there a real sense in those places that they just want to be part of a foster family? Is it like everyone's dream?
I don't think so. I think there's a real mix of some young people who potentially have had experience of foster families and then they've ended up in residential for, whatever reason.
Yeah.
There'll be quite a big fear around that and then having to connect to a family again and trust a family again. So there needs to be a lot of support and thought around that and ensuring as much as possible that the young person feels that it's right for them. There are other young people that absolutely, and as they kind of develop and see their friends in their homes, they just know they're different. It's that sense of feeling like you're different. So coming to foster care hopefully will help that.
And how young can some of these children be that are in residential homes? I'm
looking at referrals for 6-year-olds.
Wow.
And that's just through circumstance, not because they're there because of anything that, it's circumstance rather than their kind of actions or behaviours.
Yeah. So if someone's listened to this now and, they're considering being a foster carer, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them to go for it?
I would absolutely explore it and go with, speaking to a supervised social worker, or if you know someone that's fostering, or, by all means look on our website and speak to us, because even if it's not the right time at this moment, it doesn't mean it's not something that we can kind of connect up with in the future. There are lots of opportunities for foster carers and for adults to kind of come on board, and then for young people, hopefully, to be able to come and stay with them. And with our support that we do wrap around it, it isn't just in, there have been times when we just have to move children very quickly and place them somewhere. We don't do that as British Foster. We do a transition. We start with almost like a 6-week transition, and then we move on to the next stage and the next stage. Every stage is reviewed by the whole team to make sure what we're doing is right, and if it isn't, what can we change to make it?
Yeah, and it sounds like there's so much support every step of the way, and every situation is different. It's not a one size fits all at all, is it?
Not at all. No, it is very bespoke, and it has to be. And we have to be real as well that it's not going to work for everybody the way one way does. So we always want to evolve because that's what we need to do, but it is about actually doing that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Victoria. And thanks for all the amazing work that you do, and keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.